Mataji, can you see my screen? Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Very good. Thank you. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jai Jai Gurudev Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol 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 प्रणाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धश्च ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अपद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। गुं करोति वाचालं पंगं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपतामहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं श्रीपरमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। ॐ अपवित्रो पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थं गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं साप्याह्यभ्यन्तरं शुचि। श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु। हरे कृष्णा। दंडवत प्रणाम to all Prabhuji and Matajis. Subara Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, Rajiv Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks for joining.
Krishna Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dandavat
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Padma Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks for joining. Sanjay Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Dhanlakshmi Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Shri Giriraj Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Tatani Mataji, Vinod Prabhu, Soumya Prakash Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks
Hare
for
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Vanilla Mataji, Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining. There is someone, I don't know the name, Kamya's iPhone. Hare Krishna.
Kamya, Hare Krishna, Kamya Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam. So let me stop sharing this and stick. So today we are going to discuss, or read rather, Prabhujan Mataji's, the chapter 17 of Canto 5, the descent of river Ganges onto the Bharatavarsha or onto the our earth. So in the last class, during the Ekadashi day, by His Grace, Lilananda Prabhuji, Prabhuji explained us, how the entire Jambudvipa, the explanation of Jambudvipa. This is kind of continuation to that chapter, right? So we will go into it. There are mostly no purports because most likely, like the explanation of Jambudvipa, this descendant of Ganges to the Bharatavarsha is also self-explanatory chapter, except very few verses where Prabhupada gives us purports. But otherwise, it's more or less only the translation and self-explanatory. We will just go through them and we will discuss. The verse 1, translation. Sukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices,
appeared as Vamanadev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the casual ocean entered this universe as the Ganges River. Having washed the lotus feet of Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of Ganges. Yet its water remain even ever pure. Because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of Lord before descending within this universe, she is known as Vishnupadi. Later, she received other names like Jahnavi and Bhagirathi. After 1000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended to Dhruvaloka, the topmost planet in this universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupada, situated on the Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. We'll read the purport and we will discuss few points on this. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In this verse, Sukadeva Goswami describes the glories of Ganges River. The water of Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all the sinful living beings. It is proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of diseases, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Throughout India, many thousands of people live on the banks of Ganges, and by regularly bathing in her waters, they are undoubtedly being purified both spiritually and materially. Many sages, including Shankaracharya, have composed prayers in praise of the Ganges, and the land of India itself has become glorious because such rivers as the Ganges, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, and Narmada flow here. Anyone living on the land adjacent to these rivers is naturally advanced in spiritual consciousness. Srila Madhvacharya says, Varahe Vamapadatu Tat Anyeshu tu Dakshinam Padam Kalpeshu Bhagavan Ujjahara Trivikramaha. Standing on his right foot and extending his left to the edge of the universe, Lord Vamana became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji and Mataji, as the purport explains, this verse explains the glories of both Ganges River and, of course, Vamanadev. Right? So we will not go into detail of the incarnation of Vamanadev or pastime of, Vamanadev when he is come to the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. All of you know that. I will not go into detail of that. Ganges River also, at a very high level in this verse, if you see, the glories of Ganges River was given by Sukadeva Goswami, and of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also explained. But in detail about the Ganges River, the advent of Ganges River and her coming into this material world or onto the earth is in very detail explained in the Adi Parva of Mahabharata. Right, the entire story, how King Bhagirath has got, prayed and got Ganges to this world. In detail, it is explained in Mahabharata Adi Parva. So if any of you are interested, you can go through that. It is a beautiful explanation. Here, it is a very high level, it is given, but in detail, you can find that. Right. And Ganges River, Prabhuji and Mataji, it's not a normal river. Right. We all know that. Right. Though there are many very pious rivers. Right. We have great rivers in India. Right. So many rivers, like, as Prabhupada mentioned in this purport, like we have, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, Narmada, so many rivers, but Ganges is considered as the, the most glorious river. And Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, says that Shrotasam Asmi Jahnavi. Right. So he says, out of the flowing rivers, I am the Jahnavi. That means Jahnavi means Ganges, the other name of Jahnavi. So Krishna himself compared to river, Ganga, And in fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam also there is a verse which says Nimna Ganam Yatha Ganga, right? And which says out of the rivers which are flowing into the sea, I am that Ganga, right? Ganga is the greatest, basically, right? So the Bhagavatam confirms that Ganga is the greatest river, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself compares to Ganges. Therefore, it's not a normal river at all. And as Prabhupada mentions in this purport, a lot of people who live on the the banks of Ganges are they're very fortunate people. In fact, if you look at that, if any of you have been to the lands of Uttarakhand and any of the places, in fact, Mayapur is also on the banks of Ganga, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have appeared on this planet, right? So people are very, very fortunate there, so that they can take bath every day in Ganges and get rid of all the sins, get benefits, both health benefits externally and also the internal spiritual benefits. And I'm sure some of you would have been to the Uttarakhand and Gangotri, where the glaciers from the Himalayas where Ganga was born, right? In fact, the people of Uttarakhand, they worship Ganga like mother, right? As soon as you land, anywhere in Uttarakhand, you see the very regular or a very casual saying, like any other, like we say Hare Krishna, right? The very casual saying and important saying in Uttarakhand is they say Har Har Gange, right? So it's like Ganga is like mother to them. So it's not just a river. That Ganga is an emotion for people who live on the banks of Ganga, right? And it is very, very important when it comes to the the Sanatana Dharma in Hindu culture. Ganga has that kind of importance, right? So Sukdev Goswami starts with this verse, and we'll see how it goes in next. Verse 2, translation. Dhruva Maharaja, the famous son of Maharaja Uttanapada, is known as the most exalted devotee of Supreme Lord. Because of his firm determination in executing devotional service, knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaja, situated on his planet, to this very day, accepts that water on his head with great devotion. Because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly, within the core of his heart, he is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. Tears flow from his half-open eyes, and eruptions appear on his body. Hare Krishna. Right? This verse explains us, what exactly the devotional service means. Right? If you see this, the last two lines, because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly, within the core of his heart, he is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. Tears flow from his half-open eyes, and eruptions appear on his entire body. So this is the similar probably feelings which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also gone through, right? So one of the verses in Sikshastakam also says, Nayanam Galadashrudaraya Vadhanam Gadgadharudaya Gira Pulakair Vichitam Vapu Kada Tava Nama Grahane Bhavishyati. Right. So maybe that is the highest devotional service that anybody can experience. Right. The moment you think of Krishna, the tears flows from the eyes and the hair stands. Right. So that's exactly what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also experienced, and it's part of, and he gave us as a part of Sikshastakam players. Let's go into the purport. When a person is firmly fixed in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is described as Viravrata, fully determined. Such a devotee increases his ecstasy in devotional service more and more. Thus, as soon as he remembered Lord Vishnu, his eyes fill with tears. This is a symptom of Mahabhagavata. Dhruva Maharaja maintained himself in the devotional ecstasy. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave us the practical example of transcendental ecstasy. When he lived at Jagannath Puri, his pastimes are fully narrated in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Exactly. So Prabhuji and Mataji, I think, one of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he used to be the part of Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. It is explained that, whenever he used to see Lord Jagannath, he used to faint. Right? Get up, cry again, look at Lord Jagannath, and again faint. right? So that's the kind of ecstasy that he's in, right? For people who are material and non-devotees, it might appear for them like what's going on, right? Is there some mad activity or something? But only devotee can experience that, right? It's not easy to explain, right? That ecstasy, when you see the Lord, right? The tears flow through your eyes, and next level is completely getting fainted, right? So that's not easy to experience. So you'll have to really be at the level of Mahabhagavata to have those kind of symptoms, right? Hare Krishna. We'll go to the next verse. Verse 3, translation. The 7 great sages, Marichi, Vasistha, Atri, and so on, resides on the planets beneath Dhruvaloka. Well aware of the influence of the water of Ganges, to this day, they keep Ganges water on the tufts of hair on their heads. They have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. Having obtained uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they neglect all other beneficial processes like religion, economic development, sense gratification, and even merging into Supreme. Just as Jnanis think that merging into the existence of the Lord is the highest truth, these 7 exalted personalities accept devotional service as the perfection of life. Hare Krishna. We'll read the purport. Transcendentalists are divided into 2 primary groups, the Nirvisheshavadis or impersonalists. Both are same basically. And the Bhaktas or devotees. The impersonalists do not accept spiritual varieties of life. They want to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord in his Brahman future. The devotees, however, desire to take part in the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. So, Prabhuji and Matajis, I will just halt here for a minute and try to discuss what is the primary difference between the impersonalists and the bhaktas, right? As Prabhupada explains here, impersonalists cannot accept the different varieties of a spiritual life, right? They have a different understanding altogether. In fact, I was actually in conversation with one of the impersonalists last week, and I was surprised the way that they can think and the way they can interpret certain shlokas of Bhagavad Gita also, right? Krishna very clearly says in Bhagavad Gita, Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam Manyante Mama Buddhaya. Parambhava Majananto Mamavyayam Anuttamam, he says. Right? Very clear, very clear. He says, people, unintelligent people, he very categorically calls out, unintelligent people think that I was impersonal before, now assumed a form, right? And I will go back to my impersonal form. Such people are only impersonal. They don't understand my supreme nature. Is what very, very clear Krishna says, right? He also says, Kleshodikatarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavabdhir avyapyati. Very, very clearly he says, right, in Bhagavad Gita. Right, which means somebody who's attached to my impersonal form, progress for them or reaching me is very, very difficult. It is not easy at all. Right? When it is so clear that, Krishna confirms that, he's not impersonal. Of course, he's a basis of impersonal Brahman also. Right? He's definitely the basis of Brahmano hi pratistaham amrutasya vayasya cha shashvatasya cha divyasya sukasya kantikasya cha, he says. Right? I am the basis of that impersonal Brahman. But Krishna is both impersonal and personal. He very clearly says there are a lot of evidences in Bhagavad Gita. The 3 verses which I have just recited, it very, very clearly says that he is not just impersonal. He has a form also, right? Though he has a form, he is both impersonal and personal because he's the source of all the tattvas, right? All the 3 tattvas of, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, right? But somehow it is all interpreted incorrectly. Right? Very, very clear. I mean, even in Brahma Samhita, if we see the prayers of Brahma, so many areas he says that, you have Vigraha, you have Rupa, right? So many places. Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Mananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham na Vayavvanam cha Vedeshu Durlabha Madurlabhamatma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He says very clearly the Rupa, the Vigraha, very, very clearly. So it's not easy. It's not easy to perceive it, right? Not clear basically, right? So that's the difference. So they don't accept, right? So I was surprised to, I was just telling you, I was having a conversation with an impersonalist, one of our family member, right? She was quoting a shloka, right, from Bhagavad Gita, and says that, Krishna, it is not Krishna that he was quoting it, right? She was quoting this shloka in the 9th chapter, Janma karma chame divyam yevam yo veti tatpataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorchana. So she says, Krishna says, you can come back to me. Then my question is, yes, definitely this is said by Krishna. Then where does this whole idea of impersonalism is coming to the picture? So she says, no, though Krishna is quoting it, he is referring to that me in him, it seems. That's very funny. It's very funny to understand how they introspect things, right? So I was like, I was a little taken back and I was surprised, how can somebody even think like that? When a person is directly telling that, somebody understands my nature and my birth and my transcendental pastimes or activities, upon leaving this body, will not take birth again, will come back to me. Very, very clear. Then where is that me in me coming? When he says me, they will come back to me, right? So that is the prominent difference what they follow. Whereas, devotees are very, very clear. They are attached only to the personal form of Lord, and they are involved in the various activities of Lord, just not, meditating on the Brahmajyoti or not any of that matter for that life, right? Devotees are involved in a lot of spiritual activities. It could be, attending the classes or celebrating the festivals and offering prasadam and having that, as a prasadam from the Lord. A lot of things that devotees are involved, which is, if you see, it is completely contrast to what impersonalists actually follow. And that's exactly what Prabhupada is trying to explain in this shloka, right? We'll proceed further. The devotees, however, decide to take part. Yeah, we have seen that. In the upper planetary system, the topmost planet is Dhruva Loka. And beneath Dhruva Loka are 7 planets occupied by great sages, beginning with Marichi, Vasishta, and Atri. All these sages regard devotional service as the highest perfection of life. Therefore, they all carry the holy water of Ganges on their heads. This verse proves that for one who has achieved the platform of pure devotional service, nothing else is important, even so-called liberation, Kaivalya. Srila Sridhara Swami states that only by achieving pure devotional service of Lord can one give up all other engagements as insignificant. Prabodhananda Saraswati confirms this statement as follows. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita 5. Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapur akasha pushpayate durdantendriya kala sarpa patali prokata damstrayate Vishwam Purna Sukayate Vidhi Mahendradis Chakkitayate Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Gauram Eva Stumaha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has perfectly enunciated and broadcast the process of Bhakti Yoga consequently. For one who has taken the shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the highest perfection of the Mayavadis, Kaivalya, or becoming one with Supreme, is considered hellish. To say nothing of karmis, aspiration to be promoted to the heavenly planets. Devotees consider such goals to be worthless, phantasmagoria. They are also yogis who try to control their senses, but they can never succeed without coming to the stage of devotional service. The senses are compared to the poisonous snakes, but the senses of bhakta engaged in service of the Lord are like snakes with their poisonous fangs removed. The yogis try to suppress his senses, but even the great mystics like Vishwamitra failed in the attempt. Vishwamitra was conquered by senses when he was captivated by Menaka during his meditation. She later gave birth to Shakuntala, the wisest person in the world. Therefore, are the Bhakti Yogis, as Lord Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham madghate nantaratmanam shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji and Mataji's Srila Prabhupada again gives a verdict that Bhakti Yoga is the highest platform, right? So Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga are there, right? But, though they are the starting points, ultimately, unless somebody reaches the point of Bhakti Yoga, which is the highest level of, spiritual service or devotional service, it is not possible to attain Krishna Prema or the ultimate goal of liberation, right? It is very, very clear because these three are different fragments or different parts, right? Whereas Bhakti Yoga contains also these three, right? When we do Bhakti Yoga, all this, Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga is also satisfied because they are also part and parcel of the Bhakti Yoga. But when they are performed individually, right, that cannot take one to the path of the highest liberation or the highest devotional service, right? That is very, very clear, right? We have, Prabhupada also quotes the example of Vishwamitra, right? Vishwamitra is not a normal personality, right? He's a great personality. By his mantra shakti, he was able to create, different universe altogether. He's that kind of personality he is. But ultimately, what he had to go through, right? He has become the victim of his own senses, right? Thousands of, it's not a joke, Prabhuji and Mataji, performing tapasyas for thousands of years, and just the thousands of years has just gone into the vein just like in a fraction of a second because he could not control his senses, right? It's just not lust. At a very first time, Vishwamitra, when he failed to control his senses in the form of lust when Menaka arrived, right? Second time also, when he realized that, oh, this is not what I was supposed to do, I did something wrong, right? He again started the tapasya and did for 1,000 years. Second time Rambha came, right? This time he was intelligent enough, but that is only to a certain point. He was intelligent enough that, no, I'm not going to be a victim again. This time I will be careful, right? I did a mistake last time when Menaka came. This time I'm not going to do a mistake, which is okay. But what unfortunately Vishwamitra did, though he understood and he didn't want to be a victim of the lust, but he's become a victim of anger because he cursed Ramba, right? Again, he could not control his senses. Anger is also krodham, one of the senses he could not control, right? So he's a great Maharshi, Rajarishi, but again, unfortunately, Vishwamitra has become victim of his own senses. That's exactly what, Prabhupada explains here, right? That's the reason Karma, Gnana, Ashtanga Yogas are not the ultimate level of devotional service or spiritual progress. One should attain to the level of Bhakti Yoga to get the ultimate goal of liberation. Hare Krishna. Verse 4, after purifying the 7 planets near Dhruvaloka, the pole star, the Ganges water is carried through the spaceways of the demigods in billions of celestial airplanes. Then it inundates the moon, Chandraloka, and finally reaches Lord Brahma's abode atop Mount Meru. Purport. We should always remember that the Ganges river comes from the causal ocean, beyond the covering of universe. After the water of the causal ocean leaks through the hole created by Lord Vamanadev, it flows into Dhruvaloka, the pole star, and then to the 7 planets beneath Dhruvaloka. Then it is carried to the moon by innumerable celestial aeroplanes. And then it falls to the top of the Mount Meru, which is known as Sumera Parvata. In this way, the water of the Ganges finally reaches the lower planets and the peaks of Himalayas. And from there, it flows through Haridwar and throughout the plains of India, purifying the entire land. How the Ganges water reaches the various planets from the top of the universe is explained here. The celestial aeroplanes carry the water from the planets of sages to other planets. So-called advanced scientists of the modern age are trying to go to higher planets. But at the same time, they are experiencing a power shortage on Earth. If they were actually capable scientists, they could personally go by airplane to other planets. But this, they are unable to do. Having now given up their moon excursions, they're attempting to go to other planets, but without success. Hare Krishna. So two things which we will discuss in this verse, Prabhuji and Matajis. Number one, the hierarchy of how Ganges arrives from the casual ocean into the material world, right? So as per the understanding given in this verse, right, above the material world, there is a cover, right? And over that cover, above that cover, Ganges lies in the casual ocean, right? And when Vamanadev pierced that cover, it's kind of, ozone layer kind of thing, right? A layer, few drops leaked, and it has come into the material world in the form of a Ganges river. Then first it comes into the Dhruva Loka, the topmost, right, Loka of the material world, upper heavenly planets basically. Then next into the Saptarishi Loka, where the seven sages reside, and then carried by different demigods, in their celestial airplanes to Brahma Loka, Mount Meru, and then comes into the material world, or the earth, basically the Himalayas, falls onto the Himalayas. So this is the process how Ganges has come into this earth, on this earth. And second thing, if we see, Prabhupada, explains how the modern scientists are, trying to explore it, but they're failing, right? So I was thinking when I was just, preparing for this and reading this, what Prabhupada said about 40 years back, 40, 45 years back, still holds good. We did not progress anywhere, maybe a little bit of progress. But Prabhupada was quoting that, moon excursions were happening and they're attempting to go to other planets without a success, right? We are almost in the same situation after 4 or 5 decades, right? Moon excursions are still happening. Maybe the kind of, the excursions or the plans which we are trying to do to a different planets are not completely successful. Maybe, couple of countries would have sent their missions to Mars, right? Maximum, but beyond that, we are nowhere. So where are we when compared to this cosmic manifestation? We can't even go successfully into the moon, which is the nearest kind of, demi-planet or, whatever planet that we call, right? Our own planet, right? We are not even successful. Because though India was successful in the recent launch onto the south pole of the moon, but it was again explained in the news that even that machine, after a certain time, now it has gone to sleep. It cannot be reused. Over. The life of that machine is over. That Chandrayaan, which was successfully launched recently, it has gone into the sleep now because it completed its time frame and finished. It cannot be reused. Now, if we have to do other explorations, right, exploring the other parts of the moon or maybe the same part, now we will have to send a different machine to it. So Prabhupada clearly calls out, scientists are unable to do that. They're incapable of doing such things, right? It's not easy. Science, God is beyond science. So that's exactly what this verse and this purport is giving us the explanation, right? Hare Krishna. We'll go to the next one. 5th verse. On top of Mount Meru, the Ganges divides into 4 branches, each of which gushes in a different direction, east, west, north, and south. These branches, known by the names Sita, Alakananda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, flow down to the ocean. So, Prabhujis and Matajis, just, understand this. So, Ganges divides into 4 parts, going into the 4 directions, east, west, north, and south, from the Mount Meru. And each part which goes into each direction is given each name, right? A different name, right? Sita is going to the east part, Alakananda is going into the west part, Chakshu is going into the north part, and Bhadra is going into the south part, something like that, right? And flow down to the oceans there. 6th verse. The branch of the Ganges known as Sita, the first part, flows through the Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru, and from there it runs down to the nearby peaks of Kesharachala mountains, which stand almost as high as Mount Meru itself. These mountains are like bunch of filaments around Mount Meru. From Kesharachala mountains, the Ganges falls to the peak of Gandhamadana mountain and then flows into the land of Bhadrashva Varsha. Finally, it reaches the ocean of salt water in the west. Seventh verse. The branch of Ganges known as Chakshu. So the first is finished Sita. Now it is Chakshu, the second one. As Chakshu falls onto the summit of Malyavan mountain and from there cascades onto the land of Ketumala Varsha. The Ganges flows incessantly through the Ketumala Varsha, and in this way also reaches the ocean of salt water in the west. So Prabhuji and Mataji, when you see at every branch of Ganga, it is flowing into a different direction and finally coming into one particular Varsha. If you see here, it is mentioned as Ketumala Varsha, and in the previous verse it is mentioned as Bhadra Varsha. Right? Remember these things, because as we progress in this discussion, we will also discuss about the 9 Varshas, which are part of the Jambu Dvipa. Right? Number 8. The branch of Ganges known as Bhadra flows from the northern side of Mount Meru. It falls onto the peaks of Kumuda Mountain, Mount Nila, Shweta Mountain, and Shringavan Mountain in succession. Then it returns down into the province of Kuru, and after crossing through that land, flows into the saltwater ocean in the north. Hare Krishna. 9th verse. Similarly, the branch of Ganges known as Alakananda flows from the southern side of Brahmapuri, Brahma Sadhana, passing over the tops of mountains in various lands. It falls down with fierce force upon the peaks of mountains Hemakuta and Himakuta. After inundating the tops of those mountains, the Ganges falls down onto the tract of land known as Bharatavarsha, which she also inundates. Then the Ganges flows into the ocean of salt water in the south. Persons who come to bathe in this river are fortunate. It is not very difficult for them to achieve every step the results of performing great sacrifices like Rajasuya and Ashwamedha Yajnas. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji and Matajis, so this words very clearly explain, what is the benefit, right, that one gets by taking bath in the holy river of Ganga, right? So Rajasuya Yajna and Ashwamedha Yajnas are not normal, right? They are in fact in Kali Yuga, it is impossible to perform these Yajnas, right? Because Ashwamedha Yajna is like leave the horse and wherever you go, right? You'll have to fight with the local king if he does not surrender onto you to claim that land. How is it possible in Kali Yuga? Because all the lands are now in real estate hubs only. All the ventures are there. So if you leave a horse and it goes into a venture and you say this land is mine, they'll put a case on you in the court and put you into the jail. Right? We can't even fight. So that's not possible. But just by taking bath in the holy river of Ganga, we can attain the benefits or the pious level by of performing such great active the yagnas like Rajasuya and Ashwamedha. Hare Krishna. We'll go into the purport. The place where the Ganges flows into the salt water of Bay of Bengal is still known as Ganga Sakara, right? Or the meeting place of the Ganges and the Bay of Bengal. On Makara Sankranti, in the month of January, February, thousands of people still go there to bathe, hoping to be liberated. That they can actually be liberated in this way is confirmed herein. For those who bathe in the Ganges at any time, the result of great sacrifices like Ashwamedha and Rajasuya Yajna are not difficult to achieve. Most people in India are still inclined to bathe in the Ganges, and there are many places where they can do. At Prayaga, many thousands of people gathered during the month of January to bathe in the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna. Afterwards, many of them go to the confluence of Bay of Bengal and the Ganges to take bath there. Thus, it is a special facility for all the people of India that they can bathe in the water of Ganges at so many places of pilgrimage. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada also gives a clear understanding of what kind of country that we are born in, Prabhuji and Mataji. right? A lot of people think that, India is a backward country. We want to leave this country, go to West, and then, settle down there and all those things. But, all those are material sense gratification enjoyments, right? So living in this kind of bhumi, right? Where, Deva Bhumi, India is, right? And how many of the Westerners are really fortunate to take bath in Ganges? They don't even understand what is the importance of Ganges. And they don't even know. Some of them, they might not even know that there is a river called Ganga, which exists in India, right? The river does not belong to this material world. It has come from the spiritual world, right? Ganga does not belong to the material world, Prabhuji and Mataji's, right? It's come from the feet of Lord Vamanadev, right? From the spiritual world. So how fortunate are we taking birth in this country, right? And, having the benefit of taking a bath in Ganga, right? Any place, does not matter, right? Whether it is Mayapur or, Gangotri or Rishikesh or Varanasi or Kolkata or anywhere, as long as we take bath in Ganga, what kind of fortune we are actually going through by doing that, right? Hare Krishna. Verse 10. Many other rivers, both big and small, flow from the top of Mount Meru. These rivers are like daughters of the mountain, and they flow to the various tracts of lands in hundreds of branches. It is explained that apart from the Ganges, there are a lot of rivers also, which are considered as daughters of the Mount Meru, and they flow into different directions. Verse 11. Among the 9 Varshas, here, now that, Shukadev Goswami was explaining that each branch of Ganga is falling into a different Varsha. Now he's trying to explain what are the Varshas. Among the 9 Varshas, the tract of land known as Bharata Varsha is understood to be the field of fruitive activities, which is Karma Bhumi, right? Learned scholars and saintly persons declare that the other 8 Varshas to be meant for very highly elevated pious persons. After returning from heavenly planets, they enjoy the remaining results of their pious activities in these 8 earthly Varshas. Hare Krishna. Let's read the purport. The heavenly places of enjoyment are divided into 3 groups. The celestial heavenly planets, the heavenly planets on the earth, and the Bila heavenly planets, which are found in the lower regions. So Prabhuji and Matajis, we need to understand that the heavenly planets are into 3 levels, like 3 stories. First is the celestial heavenly planets, which are higher planets, heavenly planets on the earth. So there are few heavenly planets on the earth as well, which will be explained as we progress into this chapter. And the Bila heavenly planets, which are beneath the lower regions, right? We will discuss them. Among these 3 classes of heavenly places, Bhauma Swarga Padhani, the heavenly places on the earth are 8 Varshas other than Bharata Varsha. So it is clearly given here by Srila Prabhupada that these 8 Varshas, apart from the one which currently we are in Bharata Varsha, is part of the earth or the part of the Jambudvipa itself, right? Which we will understand as we go into the next verses. In Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Krishna says, Kshane Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. When the person living in the heavenly planets exhausts the results of their pious activities, they return to this earth. In this way, they are elevated to the heavenly planets and they again fall to the earthly planets. This process known as Brahmanda Brahmana, wandering up and down throughout the universe, right? Very, very clear. Right? It is very clear, right? In fact, Bhagavad Gita also confirms that, wherever you go, topmost planet in the material world, you will have to fall down. A Brahma Bhuvanal Loka Punar Avartinorjuna, right? Mamupetyatu Kaunteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. He says, even if you go to the highest planet of the material world, which is called, Brahma Loka, you will have to fall down. But one attains my world will never take birth again. It's very, very clear, right? In the same way, here also Srila Prabhupada explains that you might be performing some karmic activities which gains good karma, right? As you have gained good karma, you will be elevated. One will be elevated to the heavenly planet so that you can enjoy that, heavenly planets because of the good deeds that you have done. But ultimately, once you finishes your balance, you will have to fall down. Right? That's the reason Bhagavad Gita encourages us to do akarma, not even karma. Right? Akarma will take us back home, back to Godhead. But karma will give us good results. But again, it will take us to the temporary heavenly planets where we can enjoy for thousands of years. That's there. But ultimately, when your balance is finished, we will have to fall down. Very, very clear. So Prabhupada says here, those who are intelligent, in other words, those who have not lost their intelligence, do not involve themselves in this process of wandering up and down. They will not do it. Right? They take to the devotional service of the Lord so that they can ultimately penetrate the covering of this universe and enter the spiritual kingdom. Then they are situated on one of the planets known as Vaikuntha Loka, or still higher Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. A devotee is never caught in the process of being promoted to the heavenly planets and again coming down. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ye Rupe Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. Among all the living entities wandering throughout the universe, one who is most fortunate comes in contact with the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus gets the opportunity to execute devotional service. Those who are sincerely seeking the favor of Krishna come in contact with the Guru, bona fide representative of Krishna. The Mayavadis, indulging in mental speculations and karmis desiring the results of their actions, cannot become a Guru. A Guru must be a direct representative of Krishna who distributes the instructions of Krishna without any change. Thus, only the most fortunate person come into the contact with the Guru. As confirmed in the Vedic literature, Tat Vignanartham Sagurum Evabi Gachat. One who has searched out a Guru to understand the affairs of spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this point. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyate Jijnashuhu Shreya Uttamam. One who is very interested in understanding the activities in spiritual world must reach out a Guru, a bona fide representative of Krishna. From all angles of vision, therefore, the word Guru is specifically meant for the bona fide representative of Krishna and no one else. Padma Purana states, Avaishnavo Guru Nasyat. One who is not a Vaishnava or who is not a representative of Krishna cannot be a Guru. Even the most qualified Brahmana cannot become a Guru if he is not a representative of Krishna. The Brahmanas are supposed to acquire 6 kinds of auspicious qualification. They become very learned scholars, Patana, and very qualified teachers, Patana. They become expert in worship the Lord or demigods, Yajana, and they teach others how to execute this worship, Yajana. They qualify themselves as bona fide person to receive alms from others, Pratigraha, and distribute the wealth in charity, Dana. Yet even a Brahmana possessing these qualifications cannot become a Guru unless he is a representative of Krishna. Gurur Nasyat. Vaishnavaha Swapacho Guruhu. But a Vaishnava, a bona fide representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, can become a Guru even if he is a Swapacha, a member of a family of dog eaters. Of the 3 divisions of heavenly planets, Swargaloka, Bhaumaswarga is sometimes accepted as the tract of land in Bharatavarsha known as Kashmir. In this region, there are certainly good facilities for material sense enjoyment, but this is not the business of a pure transcendentalist. Rupa Goswami describes the engagement of pure transcendentalist as follows. Anyabhilashita shunyam gnana karmadi anavratam anukulyena krishnanu Sheelanam Bhaktir Uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through purative activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Those who have fully engaged in devotional service to Krishna just to please him are not interested in the 3 divisions of heavenly places, namely Divyaswarga, Bhaumaswarga, and Bilaswarga. So Prabhuji and Mataji's very long purport, but Srila Prabhupada very clearly explains, what is the devotional service. So different scriptures or different acharyas might give a different interpretation of devotional service, Prabhuji and Mataji's, but all the acharyas have the common understanding, all the scriptures have the common understanding of devotional service is the ultimate love towards God, right? And that will have to be ahaitviki apratihata, right? It cannot be interrupted and conditional. Any devotional service will have to be definitely unconditional and uninterrupted. And it will have to be pure love of God. There is no other way to attain the liberation or probably going back to the Supreme Lord without the permission of the Supreme Lord, and that can be attained only through a pure devotional service of love, right? Very, very important. We will have to engage our senses to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Lord. Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. That's the only way that we can perform our devotional service or love towards God, right? Here, the difference between Brahmana and Vaishnava is also very, very clearly explained, Prabhuji and Mataji's, right? If you see, Brahmanas will have to have a definitely 6 kind of qualifications, which we have just read. But just because of those 6 qualifications, there cannot be a guru who is a representative of Lord Krishna himself, right? He cannot be, right? Only a devotee, a Vaishnava can be a guru, for sure, as explained by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. Hare Krishna. Well, in these 8 varshas or tracts of land, human beings live 10,000 years according to earthly calculations. All the inhabitants are almost like demigods. They have the bodily strength of 10,000 elephants. Indeed, their bodies are sturdy as thunderbolts. The youthful duration of their lives is very pleasing, and both men and women enjoy sexual union with great pleasure for a long time. After years of sensual pleasure, when a balance of 1 year of life remains, the wife conceives a child. Thus, the standard of pleasure for the residents of these heavenly regions is exactly like that of a human beings who lived during Treta Yuga. I want all of you to focus on this purport, Prabhuji and Mataji's. Very, very important. Prabhupada explains how the yugas are divided and what exactly here this verse means. Because, it says men and women in these varshas, the 8 varshas, what we are talking about, apart from the Bharata Varsha, which is the 9th Varsha, men and women are engaged in continuous sexual activities and pleasures for a very, very long time, but they don't get pregnant, or the women does not get pregnant. They only get pregnant, the women get pregnant in the last year of the entire life and conceive the child. How is it possible? Right? This will be little contrast to our regular material knowledge. Let's see what is it. There are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. During the first Yuga, Satya Yuga, people were very pious. Everyone practiced this mystic yoga system for spiritual understanding and realization of God. Because everyone was always absorbed in samadhi. No one was interested in material sense enjoyment. During the Treta Yuga, people enjoyed sense pleasure without turbulations. Material miseries began in Dwapara Yuga, but they were not very stringent. Stringent material miseries really began from the advent of Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna. I was listening to one of the lectures of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and Maharaj says, in the earlier yugas, like Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, right? People used to get embarrassed if they are involved in the sense gratification, right? Basically satisfying their senses, right? They used to get embarrassed, right? It is like a very abnormal activity. It is a punishable activities when somebody, involved in any of this, intoxication or meat eating or, any of the illicit sex and gambling or anything like that. They used to consider themselves as a very, very abnormal activity, and the elders or acharyas or their gurus in those ages used to treat it as a punishable offense. But Maharaj says, in Kali Yuga, it has become exactly opposite. It has become fashionable these days, right? Somebody in a party holding a glass of a drink continuously, it is like a status symbol, right? It's completely holding. If you see, if you see any of the parties, anywhere, it is a status symbol. And the countries like, the Western countries primarily runs by breaking the 4 pillars of Dharma. Right? If you see the countries like America, the entire revenue or economy of America is running by breaking the 4 pillars of Dharma. In fact, India also to some extent, but at least, Bharata Varsha is different. Right? At least there's some level of dharmic activities which are happening there. But if you look at West, right, the major revenue comes from illicit sex, right? The places like, Las Vegas and all these places in America, right? Gambling, don't even talk about it. Intoxication, all the places again, right? Illicit sex, we are seeing what is happening in America. Teenage pregnancy is very, very common, right? That's exactly what Maharaj was explaining. This has become more fashionable these days to break the dharmas, the 4 pillars of dharmas, where it used to be considered as a more highest punishable activities in the earlier days. And the countries like India are also getting attracted towards the material activities of this sort. And Maharaj was explaining that he heard an example from Srila Prabhupada where Prabhupada said, people of India are like new crows. What is new crows? Right? So Maharaj was explaining, if you have, let's say there is a place, right? Let's say there is a park or a garden or anything like that, right? And there are different kinds of birds on the trees and in the lakes and all those things, beautiful birds, beautiful sounds and all those things. There are different kinds of birds everywhere, very nice, very enjoytic situation, very nice, peaceful situation. But in the same way, when crows are there, right? Crows will never be in these kind of places, right? If there is a spoiled food which is lying next to the park or outside the garden, crows will never come into the garden. Why? Because they are always behind that spoiled food only, right? Rotten food, not even spoiled, rotten food, they are behind. Crows always, they're enjoying. Oh my God, wow, what a beautiful rotten cake, beautiful rotten bun, right? So tasty, right? So they're enjoying, the crows are enjoying like that, right? So that is the nature of a crow, right? But Prabhupada says, Indians are like new crows altogether. What does a new crow do? Basically, or old crow, for that crow, it is not really excited because the crow is having the same rotten food every day. It will not come into the park to enjoy the nature. It will only eat that rotten food, right? And indulging in the taste of the rotten food, right? The new crows, the old crows are never bothered because they're every day having the same food. They'll get used to it. But the new crows who started eating that food, they act in such a way that there is no tastier food above this in this planet, right? Like a lot of people who are converting into different faiths, they act as if the faith that they have left, and the gods are like devils, and the new god is like everywhere, right? The original people who believe in that faith, they have no problem, they will just go on as usual. But the new converts becomes more radical. Prabhupada explains, in the same way, new crows become more indulged in the taste of that rotten food. So Indians are like that because that is not our culture, right? We are not, as a culture, Indians are not into that kind of sense gratification, which is considered as the highly punishable offense. But today's world, what is happening, because we are getting influenced by the Western culture and we want to show that we are cool. Oh, we are cool, just holding a glass in the hand when you're on the party, cool, right? So we are becoming more and more radical mindset because of this, right? People who are into that kind of culture from the childhood, they are fine, they behave normal. But the new crows, because it is a new thing, right? New water, the old water is gone, more excited, right? So amazing analogy what Maharaj has given, what he heard from Prabhupada. I wanted to just share that as a part of it, just going through this, right? So let's continue into this purport. Another point in this verse is that in all 8 of these heavenly varshas, although men and women enjoy sex pleasure, there is no pregnancy. Pregnancy takes place only in the lower grade life. For example, animals like dogs and hogs become pregnant twice a year, and each time they beget at least a half a dozen of spring. Even lower species of life, such as snakes, give birth to hundreds of young at one time. This verse informs us that in grades of higher than ours, pregnancy occurs once in a lifetime. People still have sex life, but there is no pregnancy. In the spiritual world, people are not very attracted to sex life due to their exalted devotional attitude. Particularly speaking, there is no sex life in the spiritual world, but even if sometimes it does occur, there is no pregnancy at all. On the planet Earth, however, human beings to become pregnant, although the tendency is to avoid having children. In the sinful age of Kali, people have even taken to a process of killing the child in the womb. This is the most degraded practice. It can only perpetuate the miserable material condition of those who perform it. Hare Krishna. We are seeing that, everywhere, Prabhuji and Matajis, it has become very, very common, right? Bruna Hatya, or killing the fetus in the womb, right? And as per the scriptures, it is said that, it is one of the highly punishable offense, right? And unfortunate that, we are seeing all those things in today's world, right? Hare Krishna. Translation for 13. In each of those tracts of land, there are many gardens filled with flowers and fruits according to the season, and there are beautifully decorated hermitages as well. Between the great mountains, demarcating the borders of those lands, lie enormous lakes of clear water filled with newly grown lotus flowers. Aquatic birds such as swans, ducks, water chickens, and cranes become greatly excited by the fragrance of lotus flowers, and the charming sound of bumblebees fills the air. The inhabitants of those lands are important leaders among the demigods. Always attended by their respective servants, they enjoy life in gardens alongside the lakes. In this pleasing situation, the wives of demigods simply playfully at their husbands and look upon them with lusty desires. All the demigods and their wives are constantly supplied with sandalwood pulp and flower garlands by their servants. In this way, all the residents of 8 heavenly varshas enjoy attracted by the activities of opposite sex. So Prabhupada explains in this purport, here is a description of the lower heavenly planets. The inhabitants of those planets enjoy life in a pleasure atmosphere of clear lakes filled with newly grown lotus flowers, and garden filled with fruits, flowers, various kinds of birds and humming bees. In their atmosphere, they enjoy the life with their very beautiful wives, who are always sexually stimulated. Nonetheless, they are all devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as will be explained in the subsequent verses. The inhabitants of this earth also desire such heavenly enjoyment, but when they somehow or other achieve imitation pleasures like sexual intoxication, they completely forget the service of Supreme Lord. In the heavenly planets, however, all the residents enjoy the superior sense gratification. They never forget their positions and eternal servants of the Supreme Being. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji and Mataji, Prabhupada is explaining the difference between the people or the personalities in the heavenly planets and on the material planets. Though the 8 verses what we are referring here are part of this Jambudvipa only, they are considered as the lower heavenly planets versus Bharta Varsha, which is like, Karma Bhumi or the material world, right? And Prabhupada explains, though the activities are very similar, because they're part of material world, they're influenced by 3 modes of material nature. There's no doubt, right? Though they are part of this, they don't forget what is the ultimate goal of their life. What is the purpose of their life? right? Though they are indulged in the sexual activities and the material activities and all those things, they remain the eternal servants of the Lord, right? Whereas in the material world, people forget what is the purpose of their life. And they indulge only in the material activities, forgetting the Supreme Lord. That's where the problem starts, right? By nature, the soul is eternal, as we know, and it wants to serve the Supreme Lord all the time. But what happens is the mind influences, right? Ideally, Prabhujis and Matajis, intelligence should be at the top out of the 5 elements and 3 subtle elements. We're talking about intelligence, mind, and false ego. Intelligence is supposed to be on the top, which should take forward the activities, right? But unfortunately, due to our conditioned position, mind is overtaking or over influencing the intelligence. We know that this is not supposed to be done. Our intelligence is telling us, no, don't do it. But mind overrides it, saying that's fine. It will search for a reason to do it. Do it, no problem. Do it, no problem. So because of this, the human being does not understand that because of the conditioned position and overwriting capacity of a mind, the soul is subject to the pious and impious activities, right? The moment we follow the intelligence, the soul is not subject to us. That means we are not, as a person, helping our soul to liberate ultimately and be in the service of the Supreme Lord, right? That is very, very important, which Prabhupada is explaining that we all need to understand, right? Hare Krishna. Shilpa Mataji, Hare Krishna, I think I will have to cover till 12 verses, but I think we have some time. Is it okay if I do 1 or 2 more verses, Mataji?
Yeah, Prabhuji, it's okay. Giriraj Prabhuji, is it okay? Because tomorrow he will be doing.
Or if I think I have already crossed 1 more. So if okay, we can stop here. It's almost time and we can discuss if we have any questions.
Yeah, Prabhuji, we can stop here. Tomorrow, Giriraj Prabhuji will continue from here.
As you wish, Mataji. So Giriraj Prabhu can continue from 14. I'm sorry, Shilpa Mataji. I'm sorry, Giriraj Prabhu. I think I was assigned only till 12. So
no, nothing like that, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam. Thanks a lot.
Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So if we have any questions, Prabhujis and Matajis, we can discuss. Otherwise, we can call it off.
Hare
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, heavenly planets means all spiritual or even heavenly planets and material planets can cross, yeah?
Prabhuji, in this particular chapter, what Shukdev Goswami is explaining about are the heavenly planets which are part of the material world.
Okay,
it's very clear. In the context, Shukdev Goswami is explaining about Dhruvaloka and which is a pole star, and 7 rishis, Sapta Rishi Loka and Brahma Loka. It is explained in the 9th canto, Prabhuji. I was actually doing some research on what was this. It is explained again clearly. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So these are part of the material planets, material world, which will be demolished or destroyed at the time of permanent dissolution.
Okay.
So they are part of the material world.
So living entities who are on those heavenly planets also, they have to, like, will they have karma and other, they can go to Godhead from that planet, or they have to come back to Earth only?
Okay, so I think, as explained in this previous verse, Prabhuji, they are part of the material world and they have to go through the they're influenced by the 3 modes of material nature. But, because their condition level is not as much as the people who live in the actual material world, they do not forget the purpose of their life. That means they have an opportunity to liberate and go back to Supreme Lord. That's my understanding.
సో ది అవి వాళ్ళు ఫాల్ డౌన్ అవ్వాల్సిన అవసరం లేదైతే.
Fall down ante Prabhuji, again, if they are continuing the devotional service, they will not. They will have to liberate. But otherwise they will have to fall down, because if you see the earlier verses, dantlo kuda etla undi, right? After enjoying a lot of time on the spiritual planets, higher planets, sorry, not spiritual planets, on the heavenly planets, they fall down next level to the Bharata Varsha, this 8 Varshas. For example, my understanding is, Prabhuji, Lilananda Prabhuji can correct me if I'm wrong. So if you have 100 points, right? They can finish their 90 points in the upper heavenly planets. And the balance, whatever the points they have, they can finish those points in the 8 Varshas which are explained here. Because they are also considered as because as you see, there are 3 levels of heavenly planets which are explained in this chapter, right? Upper heavenly and the heavenly planets which are part of this earth, 8 heavenly planets, right? And the lower heavenly planets, places basically.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so these 8 places, though they are considered as heavenly places, they are part of the earth, Jambudvipa.
Okay.
Ante Prabhuji, if we finish this chapter completely, then you will have a clear understanding. And today we are only able to finish 50%.
అంటే పుణ్యకర్మ చేసిన వాళ్ళు ఈ మన మెటీరియల్ వరల్డ్ లోనే ఉన్న హైయర్ ప్లానెట్స్ కి వెళ్ళి, ఆఫ్టర్ ఫినిషింగ్ దేర్ పుణ్యకర్మ దే విల్ హావ్ టు కమ్ బ్యాక్ టు ఎర్త్ టు ఫినిష్.
Yes. So Prabhuji, my understanding is punya karma does not guarantee the spiritual world. Right? That is karmic reactions.
Correct.
One is attaining karma, they will definitely go to elevate to the heavenly planets.
Yes.
So finishing their balance, they will have to fall down. Very, very clear. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Shane Punya Kalam. After finishing that, they will have to come back to the Matsya Loka.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Lilananda Prabhuji, please correct if my understanding is wrong, Prabhuji. Please feel free to come in.
I think Prabhu has to drop off.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone, Subbarao Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, anyone, if you think that anything which I'm saying is not.
No, Prabhu. What you said is absolutely right, Prabhu. But I also thought, like, from heavenly planets, you have to fall back if you have done with that karma, basically, that has given you that eligibility of staying there. But you also have opportunity to do positive karma that can take you further.
Yes.
Right. If you don't do that, then you have to fall back.
Yeah.
But the heavenly planets, the opulence is so nice that your free will to do even greater service to the God. How much of it is really there or not is questionable.
Yes. Absolutely, bro.
సో అక్కడ కూడా అంటే హెవెన్లీ ప్లానెట్స్ లో కూడా మన ఫ్రీ విల్ మీదే యాక్ట్ చేయాల్సి
Free will
వస్తుంది.
is always there, Prabhu. Free will is always there, Prabhu. Even in spiritual world, you have your identity, right?
Okay, Prabhu.
In the world, you have your identity. Yeah.
Absolutely. Satya Prabhu, hope I've answered your question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, అదే డౌట్ అంటే ప్లానెట్స్ హెవెన్లీ ప్లానెట్స్ నుంచి కూడా మనం వెళ్ళే అంటే గో టు స్పిరిచువల్ వరల్డ్ కి వెళ్ళే ఛాన్స్ ఉందా అని ఒకసారి డౌట్ వచ్చింది.
Yes. Yeah. Based on our free will, as Subara Prabhuji explained చేసినట్టు, based on our free will, we can do that.
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhu.
నేను అన్నది ఏంటంటే స్పిరిచువల్ వరల్డ్ కి వెళ్ళాలంటే యూ హ్యావ్ టు బీ ఫ్రమ్ ఎర్త్లీ ప్లానెట్స్ ఓన్లీ ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ బ్రహ్మలోక.
So the
In between, you
Brahmaloka
have to
is a
fall.
heavenly planet, right? Apoloka is
heavenly.
a heavenly planet, right?
Brahmaloka is heavenly. Yes, I don't think Brahmaloka is
It's
a part
not.
of heavenly,
It's not.
but it is within the material world, but the
Yes.
topmost.
Yes, it is part
అక్కడి
of
నుంచి వెళ్ళొచ్చు.
Yes.
బ్రహ్మలోక కూడా కాదు, సత్యలోక. ఐ థింక్ వేర్ దీస్ ఒక చోట అంటారు కదా, రిషీస్ గో అండ్
Apoloka.
వెయిట్ దేర్ డ్యూరింగ్ ద ప్రళయ.
Yeah.
అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి
Yes.
that is the only one which is not annihilated. Everything else is annihilated. So that is Satyaloka. And but everywhere else you have to come back to the earthly planet to be able to do that devotional service and then go to spiritual planet. Ani I've heard, I can't pinpoint which lecture, but
Okay.
many lectures.
Many of the places, so that is what exactly you hear basically, because the thought process is that from the materialistic world, Bhuloka, where you are doing your karma, the karma takes you to the upper planet or lower planetary system, and then that when you're talking it in context of the karma that you have done in this loka, yes, you have to come back to this loka basically.
Yeah. As long as they are karmas, that is
Yes,
where it
this
is.
is the karma
And,
bhumi. This is the karma.
only when it is devotional service, then it is
Yes,
spiritual planet.
exactly.
But devotional service you can perform only in earthly planet, because the other planets, the lifespan is so much and the opulences are so much that people tend to forget
Yes.
about.
Yes, exactly. But I think the other planets also has an opportunity to do devotional service, but what you said is right. The opulence is so much, that,
If
it's
I
easier to go from here.
Gorang Darshan Prabhu or somebody can verify it, maybe. We'll have to ask it in our next.
Yeah,
We should make a list of questions, Prabhuji, because
Yeah.
sometimes when they ask questions exactly, we don't know what to ask. But from these different sessions, if suppose we are getting some questions for which we still don't know the answer, and instead of speculating, we want to ask those questions, we can keep those handy.
sure.
Hare Krishna.
అంటే హెవెన్లీ ప్లానెట్స్ లో మనం చేసే వాటికి కర్మ ఉండదా మాతాజీ?
ఉంటుంది, అక్కడ కూడా గుడ్ కర్మ బడ్ కర్మ ఉంటుంది. అండ్ వెన్ యూ ఎగ్జాస్ట్ యువర్ కర్మాస్, దట్ ఈస్ వెన్ యూ ఫాల్ డౌన్ అగైన్ టు
But only
earthly
Earth
planet
is
with lower lifespan.
I thought Earth is the only karma bhumi.
Yeah, that is my understanding also. ఎందుకంటే you elevate to the heavenly planets because of your karma,
Right,
because of your good karma.
right.
So free will is definitely there, but
Right.
again, accumulating karma in the heavenly planets, I'm not really sure about that. Maybe
The service to God is always there.
yes, service to God is there. Yeah,
Always there. And the service to
that
God
falls
is
under
what
akarma,
makes-
Prabhuji.
Probably, yes, Prabhu.
That falls under akarma.
Nishkama karma.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yes, exactly. And that service to Godhead is what finally takes you. Karma
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
take you anywhere.
Exactly, karma doesn't take you anywhere. Yeah,
Karma takes you only to the higher planets.
higher planets, and once our balance
You
is over, we'll
exhaust
have to
that,
fall
you
down.
come back. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Any
Sorry, Prabhu, current poindi.
Hmm.
I hope you heard me.
Yes, yes, yes.
any questions, Prabhuji and Matajis? All right. If there is nothing, then we can call it off. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji and Matajis. Hare Krishna. Thank you for attending the discussion. Vansha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavarund ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dasraj Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.